asking who you are. I ask any black man, what's your nationality? African American, black, Nubian. Some of you say you're Baptist, a Muslim. So many different definitions for one people. Why is that? Can we please put the drinks down for a minute? Put the blunt down. Put the pills down for a second. And let's deal with real reality.
Women just out of order. Old people are out of force with God. And the churches have failed old people. That's why black men, you are the low state and you are the greatest thing God ever created. That's it's time for you men to come back in your place. Rule this earth like God made it for you. At the Bible, we're reading God's word. They're trying to take you to American Idol, American Got Talent. But y'all used to understand because they've not been taught the laws of God. And your long pastors ain't teaching to you, and they're liars. Give me Jeremiah 23.
Can you go over the topic, love your enemies? Matthew chapter 5, verse 43 all the way to 44. Romans 12 and 17. This truth, how are we supposed to handle our unbelieving brothers and sisters, but also the heathen nations when it comes to applying those scriptures? So we're going to answer this. So I'm assuming the question is, what is it about when it concerns loving your enemy? Let's get that out of the Bible. Matthew chapter 5, verse 43.
Check. Let me start at verse 43.
Yeah, start at verse 43.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. The book of Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemy. Turn it down. The red one. There you go. But I say unto you, love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you.
Now start from verse 43 again.
Verse 43. Ye have heard that it hath been said, Thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy.
So, a lot of times when you read in the New Testament, we had laws to set up. One of these laws was you're supposed to love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Then we read how Christ came back and he reiterated the law, but he made a change in it. He said, now I tell you, you should love your enemy just as well as your neighbor. Read on.
Verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies.
Christ said, love your enemies. Read on.
Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
Now, let's get the, who are the enemies? Let's read one out of the book of Micah. Let's read that real quick, and we're going to read some examples about David and Saul. This is one scripture we commonly read because we know there was contention between King David and Saul. Saul was David's enemy, but at the same time, David respected Saul, being that he was the Lord's anointed. Let's read this real quick. Who is the enemies? Micah chapter 7, verse 6.
Micah chapter 7, verse 6. For the son dishonoreth the father, the daughter riseth against her mother, the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies are the man of his own house.
It says that a man's enemies are men of his own house. That is the enemies when you read the Bible, what is it referring to? Men, enemies of your own house, your own kindred. That is who it is referring to. Enemies of your own house, because Christianity likes to take this and say you're supposed to love those that oppress you. Got this rapper, what is his name, Common, talking about the way we're gonna come over the affliction of our oppressors. We gotta love them more. We gotta show some love. We gotta have more love than we ever had before. That's how we're gonna come out of this. God ain't saying that nowhere in the Bible. He's saying the enemies that of your people, and the enemies of your household is gonna be the enemies that you should love. Right. That's who it's referring to. Let's go back to Matthew.
Matthew chapter 5,
Verse 44.
verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you.
Now it brings about the question. What is love now? We should all know this answer. Love is the keeping of God's commandments. How did David love Saul and not, how did David love Saul? That's the question. How did David love Saul when Saul hated David? How did he love Saul? By the examples that we read about. How did David love Saul? I got a question for you men. How did David love Saul when Saul treated him evil? Jude.
You always try to correct Mike, Uriah.
You got a mic back there?
Where the fourth mic?
Get a brother a mic.
It was all up there. Mikey, what was that other mic?
Remember my question that we read about. How did David love Saul?
Just instead of King David trying to get his revenge from King Saul, he tried to correct him.
How did you try to correct him?
I forgot how the story goes.
He tried to correct him. Okay, somebody else.
When King David had an opportunity to slay Saul, he didn't kill him.
That's how he loved. He didn't kill him. We don't read about when David tried to correct him. The man was trying to kill him. Saul wasn't trying to hit nothing he said. So, being that Saul was trying to kill him, David was on the run, and every time that he had an opportunity to kill Saul, to stop, to have him, to stop Saul from trying to pursue him, David warned, look, I could have laid hands on you. You were asleep, and I had you in my hands. I did not kill you, because I know what the Bible says. You are the Lord's anointed. I'm not going to touch my Lord. That's what he said. He respected him. That's what Christ was referring to when he said, love your enemies. And there are those that despitefully use you. Saul used David to fight in his army. And what he did, treat him evil. He used him to slay the Philistines. And what he did, always, it treated them of evil. But David showed what he did, the scripture says, overcome evil with good. That's what Christ was referring to in this new covenant. Love your enemies. Let's get that out of the book of Samuel. Let's read that real quick.
1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 28.
You want to get Michael?
1 Samuel chapter 18, verse 28. And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David. And Saul became David's enemy continually.
And Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. That's the enemies, once again, of your own household. David, the situation, the relationship between David and Saul. Let's go back to Matthew real quick. Let's finish that off. And then we'll get to the other part of this question.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 44. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you.
And that goes for your brothers and sisters that are unbelievers. A lot of times we would have our worldly kinsmen to call us when they're only in the need of something. They call you and ask you, I'll give you an example. They call and ask you for money because they found out somehow that you had run into some money and they need a loan from you. You give them the scripture. That's showing them love. God said, don't do good only to the godly. Don't help not the sinner. I'll be more than happy to help you if you are on my side. You believe in the same God that I believe in. Because I know when you spend this money, it's not going to be for the good of anything. You are unbelieving. The scripture says this. That's how you help love your enemies. If they despitefully use you. You show love by giving them the scriptures when they concern your family or to the unbelieving. The sister that gave this question, y'all hope you understand. Now the second part of this verse, y'all got some more examples. I know it's plenty more. Out of ungodly. and the way you're supposed to show love.
I got one for you.
Go ahead. Oh.
Exodus.
Go to the book of Exodus real quick. Exodus chapter 23, and we're going to start at verse 4. We're going to give you an example of those that you know hate you or your enemies. The Most High still commanded us to show love towards our own people at all times, because they walk in darkness. They don't know. So for them not knowing is not an excuse for us not to still keep the commandments. So in Exodus 23 verse 4, can you read that for me? Exodus 23 and 4.
Exodus chapter 23,
Verse 4.
verse 4. If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again.
So the Most High is telling the people of Israel, if you meet something that your enemy may have lost, going astray, the Most High is commanding us now to put aside our feelings and keep the commandments. Read on.
Verse 5. If thou see the ass of him that hateth thee,
That does what?
that hateth thee,
So you know that this is the person, this is his donkey, and you know outright that he don't like you. That y'all two, every time y'all come around each other, is just tension between each other. Read on.
if thou see the ass of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, and wouldest forbear to help him,
So if it's in your mind, if it's the thought comes to your mind, if you would have forbear to help him, I ain't doing nothing for him, he don't like me. I don't really mess with him. So I'm going to let this donkey go astray. Just let it wander off somewhere and act like I didn't see it. Read on.
thou shalt surely help with him.
Thou shalt what?
Thou shalt surely help with him.
So thou shalt surely, that's a commandment. Thou shalt surely help. So that's an example right there that how we are supposed to interact with our people out here, although they walk in darkness, although they may have hatred for us and not like the things we do, the life we live. Because with us doing that, you never know, you may win that brother over.
Right.
You may win that sister over by you keeping the commandments, putting your feelings to the side and trusting in thus saith the Lord. All right?
That goes back to that scripture also too in Romans. I believe it's Romans 12, right? It said heap coals upon his head.
Yep.
That's how you're going to heap coals upon their head. You're going to make them feel guilty. Like, I'm evil. This man, let's read that real quick. I'm evil. That's what the scripture means by heaping coals upon his head. Let's get that real quick.
Romans chapter 12 verse 17. Romans chapter 12 verse 17. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men.
So recompense to no man evil for evil. Read on.
Provide things honest in the sight of all men.
In the sight of all men. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. Read on. Now this actually answers both questions. Read on.
If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men.
So to the second part of this question, it says, and also when it comes to applying those scriptures to the evil, the scripture said, if it be impossible, live peaceably with all men. That's what God commanded of us. We ain't supposed to be raising havoc amongst the nations. We got to live in this land. We in our captivity. We got to understand that. So it be impossible, you're supposed to be living peaceably with all men. That way the Most High have mercy upon you by using the heathens to bless you. If you going around calling the white man the devil at work and wherever you go, you're gonna catch hell. You ain't gonna find no peace. Most High called us into peace. We already know this man's judgment. We don't have to go and call him the devil every time we see him or disrespect him. Okay, that's some learning that a lot of brothers have to do. I remember brothers are growing in the spirit. I remember when we used to go out, brothers used to have that spirit. What the hell, a white man here? Why we got to go out with a white man? Well, the Negro, we in captivity. That's the reason why we got to shake that spirit. This truth becoming overpowering to where we think that we can just disrespect the nation because we know who they are. We got to live peaceably amongst these nations. We can't go around in that spirit. That'll not only affect your life, that'll affect everyone else around you. Because we're around, we live in peaceably one amongst them. and you get out the spirit, call him the devil, because you ain't thinking with wisdom, that'll destroy everybody's time. You understand? That's not how we're supposed to carry ourselves. This is a commandment. Read that again, verse 18.
Verse 18. If it be possible, as much as life in you, live peaceably with all men.
Read on.
Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves.
Avenge not yourselves. Read on.
But rather give place unto wrath.
Give place unto wrath. Read on.
For it is written, vengeance is mine.
Read it again.
Vengeance is mine.
Vengeance is the Lord. The Lord don't let nothing go by unescaped. All the things that the heathen is doing, the Most High will get vengeance upon those things. Read on.
For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, saith the Lord.
Like the situation we read between Saul and David. David didn't have to do nothing to Saul. The Lord had Saul killed in battle, him and his sons, for being evil. That's when the Lord said he will repay vengeance. David just had to keep his posture and do what the Lord told him, is to love your enemies. And the Lord sought justice of that whole thing. Read on.
Verse 20. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him.
That goes back to the law we just read back in what was that? Was Deuteronomy? If you see if your enemy's Exodus, right? When you see if your enemy's ox go astray, you're supposed to bring it back to him. It said, therefore, if thine enemy shall hunger, feed him. That goes into those examples. And if your enemy needs anything, you're supposed to supply that need, knowing that you are an Israelite and that's what's commanded of you. You know.
If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head.
Now, he used the examples of giving thirst and drink, but it's talking about providing those things that your neighbor might need, which is, in this case, your enemy. Providing those things he needs. If his cattle ran off, he's supposed to bring it back to him. Okay, if you see him broken down on the side of the road, give today's example. Right. You're supposed to help him. That way you do what? Read on.
And for in so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head.
Meaning make him have a feeling of guilt. Make him feel alone in his own situation, that he only hates you and you don't have a problem. He has a problem. That's what it means by heaping coals upon his fire. Heaping coals of fire upon his head. Read on.
Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good.
But overcome evil with good in all types of situations. Whether it comes to the heathen, will come to the enemies of our people, or it comes to the enemies of the nation. You're supposed to what? It says what? Overcome evil with good. The Lord will seek their vengeance. Okay, that's how we're supposed to handle all those situations.
Shalom, Israel. I'm Elder Nathaniel, Israel United in Christ. YouTube likes to shut our channels down, as some of you have noticed, ever so often. Subscribing to join IUIC will assure you will always stay connected to our YouTube accounts. We want to do our best to make sure this truth gets out. Please click and join our subscriber YouTube channel called Join IUIC to stay linked to all of our videos. So again, please make sure you subscribe to this Join IUIC channel to get your latest updates from all our YouTube channels. Shalom.